Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to FPV Chat. It is Monday, and we're here on the YouTubes at 1 p.m. MST to check out what you guys got going on. What's your questions, comments, concerns? We'll look at some of the current stuff going on in FPV. We'll answer any problems that people have, hopefully, or direct you to the right place. Yeah. So let's see who's in the chat today. Michael Lowndes is here. How's it going? Isaac Mitchell, IDV, Esponder, JRFPV, Apache Smoke is here. Callie, Graham P, NPA 4863. That's interesting. Is there any history to those numbers? E-Doc's here. Yeah, lots of stuff going on too. Actually, tomorrow is the release of Liftoff micro drones too. Lots going on in the Whoops world. Jory FPV, how's it going? Glad you're here. Sonic Tonic, Audio Geck, and Patio Patterson. Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. Case of the Mondays. Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, I hope you feel better as you watch me talk about random stuff. Hopefully that is helpful in some way to you. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about Liftoff Micros for sure. Tomorrow, I'm excited to see how well it flies. It looks great, but I think we got to see how that pans out into gameplay. But I'm pretty excited. You know, if I'm flying micros, I'm flying Velocidrone currently, so I'd love something to dethrone that just because anything quality would be great. They're talking about a new engine and stuff, and that they couldn't. There were such big changes, like it wasn't possible to port it to Liftoff. Like they needed all the the new engine and changes and stuff. So very excited. Can you tell? Darkman's here. How's it going? Got Cuphead. Awesome, man. Good to see. Good to see that. I haven't played much of that since I've been off stream with it. I think I just got to the end of the second island. Robert JagRevX is here. Howdy from a small town in Kansas. Well, howdy back from Denver, Colorado. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I've never tried whoop freestyle, so I can't tell you about how it feels for that. I just whoop race, so I do not like flying whoops in acro personally. Lubizmi FPV. Hello, bro. Have you seen the new 1 watt module from Happy Model? I believe so. I don't really have a lot of opinions about ELRS modules. I think you just need to see testing and let people take them apart and see how they were designed and stuff. I don't know anything in particular about that module. So that's something that is the best thing to do with Express LRS is definitely look at reviews, see what experiences are with the hardware, and then try to pick the hardware vendor that you feel like is doing the best job. Also asking Express LRS Discord to find issues that people are having. Also super helpful just to make sure you're not getting something with a known issue. Like that new beta module seems good except for the couple issues that it's had. So it's possible that that's a great module when 2.1 releases and there's full OLED support. And even now, it seems like a decent module. There's just the mistakes they made in the contact they didn't have with devs. So, yeah, if it's that new then and it's from Happy Model, then I don't think I would jump into it. Edoc says, I'd be more excited if Liftoff wasn't as janky as the Velocidrone in most areas. Sad there's no sims that take UX seriously. Yeah, there's not a lot of great UX. We've looked at most of them recently, and they're all pretty bad. That's for sure. I will say, though, I don't know. The whole point of the new engine and design is supposed to be that it's less janky. But I don't know anybody who's in the preview, so I haven't actually talked to anybody who's flown it that isn't biased. So I'm interested to fly it myself and find out. Stratton Ford is here. How's it going? My opinion on KISS today is KISS is probably in the best place it's ever been, as far as I can tell. I'm only 2 years into the hobby, but KISS seems very solid right now because you have Ultra and FetTech, who are basically making competing firmwares, more or less, because they're both in the KISS ecosystem, but they're both kind of designing in forks now. FetTech ground up rework seems very interesting, but it is also risky to me. However, you're on the G4 already, so I guess you're going to find out. I would encourage you probably, if you're doing the kit stuff, either just set it and forget it how it ships, or spend the time to go on their Discord, on the FetTech Discord, and then get that alpha firmware and check it out, because that's actually FetTech's own firmware that they've designed. So I'm not sure if they're publishing that anywhere else, but I do know the alphas are showing up in the Discord for everyone, not just alpha users. So, Rodolphe Lacmont. Oh, that's a name right there. Is that French? I don't know. Rodolphe Lacmont. I don't know. Just gonna butcher it. Callie, last stream, I think he said something about Trappy wouldn't ever let ELRS work on TBS hardware. I'm curious why. Seems like he would get a ton more people buying TBS gear to run ELRS, because then they would have to troubleshoot it. I mean, that's the main reason, right? But also because it devalues a brand, because he's been promising people X, Y, Z, A, B, C forever. It lives in their ecosystem. They pretend like all their firmware works perfectly, but obviously there's been a lot of issues with Agent X and other flashing and stuff. I just don't see it happening. Plus, they'd have to keep their own like open source revisions of it, and then we'd have to see inside the TBS code probably, or they'd have to make a whole new thing for just the ExpressLRS like side of it, because their code has, their RXs have stuff like those that like bootloader that like you can emergency flash and stuff, and I would imagine they would still want to maintain that functionality as a company. I don't know. I would guess that it's a combination of things, but one of the main things is that like yeah, they just don't want to devalue that brand and they don't want to support ExpressLRS. Like, they don't want to get all these messages about some open source software that they have to try to figure out. They instead get to live in their little closed source bubble and only they are figuring out their software. That's my guess, anyway. Blythen's here. How's it going, Blythen? I have not seen anything more about the iFlight TX. Hopefully it is coming soon. But yeah, I actually haven't seen anything about it, so hopefully they make it happen. I think a lot of people are waiting on that. The only post I think they've still made is on that Instagram page. Let's just check real quick. Is it? As soon as I find it. This is why, like, I don't know. So frustrating. I don't use Instagram either, but I have no idea what the hell their thing was. I thought it was iFlight RC, but it is clearly not. Here we go. Oh, it's SI _iFlight. That must be somebody who works there, right? Or for some reason they've decided that that makes sense. Here we go. This is what we're talking about. But so far, this has been, as far as I know, yeah, the only post about it. I thought they gave a date in here. Yeah, release date is next month, 11/20. This was posted in October, but it did not come out. So I can't tell you. I do know the Jumper T Pro, the other ExpressLRS internal radio that's supposed to come out, the 900 only, was also supposedly delayed because of shipping issues and material sourcing and all kinds of stuff. So I would assume it's a similar reason. Windjumpy's here. How's it going? Yeah, Blythen, that was pretty much a mess of a stream, but I mean that's what people will see. So I think that's an important thing to show people. It's like how bad the UX is. If you guys didn't see that, me and Bardwell streamed a week ago on Monday, I believe. I think that's right. On his channel for we did some stream stuff. Or sorry, sim stuff. Wednesday. It was Wednesday? Yes. On Wednesday on his channel, we did some stream stuff. Sim stuff. Jesus. Sim stream stuff. Let's say it like that. And we looked at quite a few different sims, and a lot of them did not work well. I don't know if we'll take a look back at them if we figured some of them out. I do know somebody gave me some information about how to fix FPV Air 2, but I don't know. I'll be talking to Bardwell about that and decide how we want to handle that. And I did buy it, so it's really weird. It's some checkbox. It's like Tyrannus/betaflight or something is the checkbox you have to uncheck to make things work, which is confusing. Rodolph, that's annoying. I know they just added support, so it's probably a little sketchy. But yeah, hopefully that works better at some point. Crunked is here. How's it going, Crunked? Good to see you. CH3FPV is in the chat. Rodolph wants me to know he's Night Owl FPV. Well, good to see you, Night Owl FPV. I do recognize that name. Tom's Lazy. Thomas Lazy? How do you say that name? I don't know the actual way to pronounce when you see Tommes. Tom's says, hi, it's Blondie. I'm in need of an indoor whoop bind and fly of a QX7 Access EU LBT with CRSF crossfire, also Spectrum DSMX. I mean, who still makes a? I don't know. Beta FPV might still make a Meteor 65 with Spectrum. Or you could probably, I'm trying to think what you can actually buy with a crossfire. I mean, you could solder a crossfire to most whoops, but some of them are not going to have enough UARTs. Maybe the chat has recommendations. Access EU LBT. Does that mean you don't have D8? D16 works well enough, but I just want to confirm. I believe that means you don't have D8, right? Enema, do you think there will be a DJI V3 goggle out next year? I've said before, and I still hold to this, I don't think DJI will make a V3. I could be totally wrong. I think instead we'll see a DJI FPV2, like a whole new revision of the system on a future version of the chip, or a future version of the chipset, so that it enables more things, it looks forward in their development, and stuff like that. So I don't know, but my guess is that we'll see like a 2 instead of a V2, and it'll be like a push forward of the system. But I don't know. I've been jamming. Tap that like button. Thanks, man. Welcome to the stream. Brandon, did we talk Money Shot Mini Y2 V2, the new Y6 Cine rig? No. I don't know anything about it though. Like I've seen it, but I don't know anything about Cine. So let's see. James Dark is here. How's it going? Mini Beast. I don't know what that is. Yeah, between Kebab's Y6 video and the CMW MS V2, Money Shot V2, I'm pretty hyped for Y6. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would assume there's a reason people haven't done Y6 for the reasons he talks about, but I don't really know anything about it. So I just know it's been done a lot, and it's been done before in the past, and it didn't pick up. So I don't know. I'm interested to see like if it takes off for any reason, or if it like makes sense for people. But if I'm strapping a big ass camera to stuff, I'm typically going 8 motors anyway, I would think. I don't know. It's just interesting. And then also, why do you do Y? Don't you want to do hex so that you have a motor like loss safety? I don't know. No, I didn't see any of that crunked. I don't. It doesn't seem relevant. Seems like a weird thing to speculate about. What do you mean by most of the time? I was under the impression that redundancy is a factor, but maybe I'm incorrect. Is that an octo then, instead of a hex? I would, if I was flying a big camera that costs a lot of money, I would want redundancy. So if I lose an ESC, I could still fly, personally. Like to me, there's no reason not to have an extra motor, like a backup motor on a thing you're flying that's $5,000 or whatever, right? I don't know what you're putting on the Money Shot Mini, but it seems crazy. Like ESCs do burn out, so eventually you're going to lose that camera, you know. I think in betaflight you do, but I don't mean betaflight because I assume on a like a Cinerig you're not flying betaflight. I think in like iNav and ArduPilot, I think you can fly with a missing motor, but I could be wrong. At least that's what somebody had told me in Bardwell's chat. Neek FPV. I don't know. You'd have to check the form factor and make sure they're the same length and width. But if they're the same length and width and thickness, then yes, I would say they're the same battery relabeled. RDQ buys batteries from GNB. I believe, I'm sure they still do. I haven't heard about that changing, so I would assume it's the same GNB cell that they've relabeled. It's just relabeled to a different milliamp hour. However, I don't know why they would do that. See. It's weird. The 300 looks like the 250s, but I'd have to check the dimensions. Looking at over here. Yeah, they're selling them like the 300s they used to, and the 300s look like the shorty 250s. But I'd have to check the. Like there's a 250, like that's normal size. There's a 250 that's normal size. Like what is this 250? Of course, no dimensions. Blank. All right, well, I'm gonna guess they're normal, but I would measure your other batteries and see if they're the same dimensions. But it does look like they're the same. I think they're the same. Rodolph, you have to upgrade to EdgeTX 2.5 to get rid of the USB latency. There's no fix unless you upgrade to EdgeTX 2.5. The Mambo should have it as well, though nobody. Basically, the way you have to test it is you have to run a special program and you have to solder a switch into your radio. That's how Bry did all the testing. So the problem with that is that like most people aren't going to do that, and nobody's done that with a Mambo that I know of. So I don't know how to test that like on a Mambo, but there's no reason to think that they've done a change that we haven't seen somewhere internally. Maybe somebody figured it out and made that change internally, but I would guess that the Mambo, because it's based on OpenTX, has the same problem. And you're not going to fix it until they release EdgeTX for the Mambo, which will either be Christmas if we're lucky, but probably not. It sounds like FreeRTOS will not be done in time for Christmas. That will mean it'll come in EdgeTX spring release. Hopefully it'll be like nightlies before that. But it sounds like worst case it'll be April-ish, March, April-ish, depending on when Trappy finishes. So. Oh yeah, I forgot I still had this up. Yeah, all this is a DJI camera, so all the DJI cameras. If anybody hasn't heard, these are the new Nano cameras. There's a new Cadex Nebula Pro Nano and a Runcam Falcon Nano. And so these are both the same specs essentially, which is a 4x3 sensor, 14x16, so it's a little taller than it is. Similar weight, similar specs and stuff like that. So pretty exciting for DJI users for sure. First Nano full like nice camera that we've gotten. Also, just they are saying basically here it says 1080p to 720, so it does mean it will record on an air unit at 1080, which we know basically from how the chip works, but that's been assumed. But it is pointed out here that when you record on the air unit, you will get 1080p. And yes, it is funny, it still says 4K. Nobody cares to actually get information over there, so just paste up the stuff from before. Good stuff. RC Ritter GNB makes the RDQ batteries. It says the 380 is 62 millimeters in length. Is it the same width and height? Frenzy, I know you mentioned COVID before, I think on the last stream. I hope you're feeling better, man. I hope you get feeling better soon. I'm doing pretty well. Well enough. Yeah, the Nebula Pro Nano I think is going to be pretty exciting. RC Ritter 4K is the old, I think that's the old limit, right? Or no. The new limit is like 11K, so half of that would be whatever. No, 4 miles before. So I don't know where 4K comes from. Wasn't that in their original stuff? Like all the DJI FPV thing? I swear that they were using 4K for a while, but the limit of the system was not 4K, right? 4 km per mile. Yeah, unless I'm tripping, I thought the limit was 4 miles, which would be 6.4K. But EU can definitely go farther than 4, or either less or more, I would say. Because like Brandon's saying, 25 milliwatt is rough. I've had a lot of people like, oh, my shit's so bad. I'm like, please do the FCC hack. It's so much better. Well, Nick, that doesn't sound like a bad trade-off. I mean, I could definitely understand if they did that, because I don't think any of the whoop frames are really limited by the length. So to me, that's just if they could squeeze it, if they could call it a 380 and they squeeze 3 millimeters out of it, that seems very positive. However, I'm still buying the square cells. So either the We Bleed packs or the tattoo packs or the Nitro Nectar Gold packs. I just think they're so much better. Our FPV, what should we call it? The for worried about sounds like the party time fun change. The extremely not illegal or doing anything wrong modification. Also in Nano Cam news, you might as well talk about the HD0 Nano camera. Sure looks a lot like the RunCam camera, doesn't it? I don't know, where's the... How do you undo a closed tab in freaking Chrome? Control Shift T or something stupid? Yep. Did I close it this far back? Holy Jesus. I did close it this far back. Okay. Control Shift T. It's just been a minute since I've used Chrome. Chrome made me angry. I went to Firefox. So, you know how it goes. Okay, anyway, doesn't this look a lot like this? It's a different lens, but boy, that body looks freaking similar, doesn't it? I guess there's metal in the hole, and there's not metal here. There's metal in here, and there's not metal here. But they're the same form factor, 14 by 16. So I'm curious to see if this will be like some of the other things we've seen, like that Fox Theater setup, where they're very similar, but this is just the HD0 version. This looks solid. It's a little heavier, I think, than the DJI version. Looks like maybe from that lens. That lens is quite a beast. 6G high quality lens. What does that mean? Does that mean there's no way the lens is 6 grams, right? 6G. Yeah, you got me on that one. Family Guyver, the Weebleed packs are sold on weebleedfpv.com. He has his own store. He's a good guy. Jeff Grabowski puts a lot into the hobby, organizes events. They're about to have a big Weebleed Whoop series starting December 1st. Is qualifying. We'll talk about that on the news tomorrow. Yeah, hard to know, RC Ritter. Hard to know. I would say the sensors might not be the same because it's 1080 on the RunCam version and it's 720 on the SharkBite version. The Vista is doing the downscaling for the DJI version, so I'm not really sure how that works. I have no idea about how lens stuff works, EDOC, so maybe 6G is the form of the lens. I do not know. All kinds of folks in the chat, some new folks I have not seen before. Also, Durso's here. How's it going? Warren Mitchell, 304 is here. James Flores. Lots of folks. We've talked before. I've got I'm setting up a system so that I can have an automated dog feeder based on super chats. So whenever you guys do a super chat, and hopefully other donations too, but right now super chat seems to be the thing that works easily. Basically, every time you guys will give a super chat, it will give Mr. Henry. Oh yeah, sorry, I totally forgot to put the cam on. It'll give Mr. Henry over here a treat. But we haven't made it quite there yet. I did get farther than I would have expected, though, to be quite honest with you. I currently have this guy over here, and this is testing. This all works. So, in theory, my testing says this will work, but it depends on services, right? In theory, this server will spin for like 5,000 steps, and this little board will light up, the servo board there, whenever anybody super chats during this stream. So just in case anybody does, I have this plugged on to test it, just so we can see that it works. And I'm looking at some options. It looks like maybe cereal, like a cereal dispenser. Looks to be a good option. Mo MK in the chat, if he's around, was suggesting that one, I believe. I just saw a super chat come in, so I don't know what the delay will be, but thank you so much, James Flores, for the $5. And it works. Oh no, you can't see. Like you can see, it's lit up. That little board right there was lit up, and it did spin in my hand. So, oh, Joseph super chatted as well, and it's hard to see there, but it is spinning. Wonderful. Okay, well now I just have to build this part. RC Ritter, it is spinning again. Wow, this is great. Okay. Fabulous. Thank you guys so much. Joseph Dahari sends $5 for a test. RC Ritter sends $2 for a manual proof of concept test. Thank you guys so much. Let's see. Where'd I hold on? I lost my deal here. Let's see. Bags is firing up the printer. Oh, gotta bring him back. Henry's always pretty chill. I mean, most of the time he's pretty chill. Sometimes he's a little, you know, he's a dog, but oh. Thanks, folks, for the super chats for Henry. We'll put that towards the cereal dispenser that we're gonna look at. I don't think Henry's gonna be scared of this one because he's gonna quickly learn it will be treats. So that's my goal. So I want to like get him into a point where, you know, he just knows what's going on, and he the sound actually like brings him back if he's not in the room, you know. If Henry's more valuable than me, yeah, that's probably true. These are the options Mo showed me. I think these are really smart. Basically, we would just load whatever we want in there, as long as it fits through the little riffles down there. Then I'll just mount the servo to the front with a little 3D printed dealio. And then the servo will spin that little turner. It won't be perfect, but I think it'll be good. Yeah, Brian Jarvis, I'm gonna try not to give him diabetes. So we shall see. Gonna have to do some more running. Video quality dropped. It was not based on that device. Also, I think I'm still powering 2 phases when it shuts off, so I need to figure out the code on the servo library I'm using, the Excel stepper library for Arduino. I need to figure out how to actually cancel, like stop. I'm basically using a mystepper.run as the command if you're familiar with it. And it runs servo, but it actually doesn't depower the servo legs. And I don't know if that's normal for that board. Could be just how that board works. I'm gonna look into it. Waiting for a new AIO that's out for delivery. Nice. Good to hear that. I have seen Great Scott videos, not recently. I don't think recently, anyway. That's one that I don't even know if I'm sub to, just pops up in my YouTube a lot. Dang it, I keep forgetting to click the 5. He's really out over there, huh? Just a reminder, if anybody has any questions, needs any help, support, information, anything like that, always happy to help out. So just let me know what your question is or what your confusion is or what you heard about that you might want to talk about. Always happy to do that. Also, just so you know, I think some of the people here won't need it, but maybe some people will, or they can tell their friends. I have launched a premium FPV troubleshooting service. So now if you go to itsblunty.com, it does redirect. You'll get to my Google Doc page, my Google Drive page. And yeah, so basically, if you want me to go above and beyond, like this says, I always do help everyone for free if they message me, if I have the time and ability. But sometimes I don't have the time, or I forget your message, maybe it drops down or something like that. So instead, I have a new service. So if you would like extra above and beyond help, you can get voice, remote desktop, and guaranteed quick text replies if you'd like to pay $50 for an hour. So that's a new service I'll be providing. A lot of information here if you'd like to read through it. Obviously, I can't help with everything, so there are areas I'm good at and areas that I'm not so good at that I wouldn't feel comfortable charging you for help with. And again, you're always welcome to message me on Discord, here on YouTube, Gmail, Facebook, anywhere, so I can help you. But if you have any friends or concerns or anything like that who just really want to sit down with somebody on a video or have me remote in and make sure all their betaflight's set up properly or anything like that, you can always send them over to itsvalenti.com and have them fill out my form. Describe your issue. I'll make sure I can fix it, hopefully, before I charge you. So, sounds good. All right. Warren Mitchell says, have you seen iFlight's HD whoop, the A85 HD? Yes, I have. Don't think HD belongs on a whoop, but I have seen it. I don't know. 85 is big enough that it's like probably okay, but most people are buying this for indoors, and I would not fly anything like this indoors. So it's totally up to you and what you like to do in your house. I'm a big fan of just buying a 65 and flying through gates when I can't fly outside. So that's what I would personally do. A lot of people ask about digital indoors. I assume that's part of the question, but yeah. Also, not new. I'm not sure if you thought this was new, but this has been around for, I would guess, 8 months to a year, something like that. Quite a while. So this is probably the new version with the Polar Nano, but they've been making these for quite a minute, a hot minute. All right. Audio Gex says, anyone excited for EdgeTX 2.6? I'm excited for the themes part of it, but otherwise, I don't know that there are any features I'm super hoping for. At least offhand, there's not a lot of stuff I do with my radio that's special. However, the theme support will be nice, and hopefully they'll integrate scripts so I can do the random PID profile selector we've been talking about. Got me Michael flying. It's golden hour. That's cool. Good to hear. It's only 1:43 here. Scott M is in the chat. Sabrosa, how's it going? I am doing well. Let's see. Durzo, yes, I have seen that. I'm not sure that it could hold up to the stresses that we put on like a quadcopter, like a servo can, but I'd be interested to know if somebody was interested in doing testing with that stuff. TKO FPV says, have you tried Betaflight 4.3? Yeah, I have a little bit. I think it's on my main Vista quad. The Skyliner. Flies like Betaflight. I mean, I think it flies fine. I don't I'm not a big tuner, so not really I don't notice too big of a difference. A lot of the other nice features will be good for a lot of pilots. I like where they move things in 10.8 configurator. Yeah, the biggest thing I'll be excited about for 4.3 is so people can stop using nightlies when they should not be using nightlies. Like the way it's been working for however long is like a quarter of the hobby's been using freaking 4.3 nightlies because they're running SPI AIOs or they've got a special ICM or whatever. It's like, I don't know. That doesn't seem like a good idea. There's a reason they're in nightlies, right? So I'll be glad to see everybody moving to release firmware. Like I said, there are a lot of changes that people will be excited for. It's been like a year, so yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if we want to look at this real quick again, but they did post something since the last time I looked at this iFlight radio. This was after the date they said it would come out. Somebody replied to 5.8 and said 2.4 and 915. Those got to be two versions, I'm sure, with integrated Express LRS, dual band antenna. So they did confirm it's Express LRS. Oh, dual band antenna, so both inside. I bet they're having trouble with the code on that right now. But that's pretty neat. That's the first confirmation I've seen of it actually being both, because somebody asked here 2.4 and 915, two versions of the same radio, and they just said yes. Two versions or in the same radio. But yeah, now we have that confirmed. So interesting. That's the iFlight radio. That's all we know about it. It was supposed to come out on 11/20, and it has not yet. So, but they made a comment about it, so obviously it's still coming. But all we know about it is it's an iFlight ELRS radio with dual band, which is pretty cool. Hopefully, we will know more soon. I'm not trying to buy anything. So if you would like to spend $100 on a smart dog feeder and send it to me, I'll use that instead. But it's a lot cheaper to use an Arduino ESP832. So that's what I'm doing. Thomas, I don't know what that means. You'd have to give me some context. That doesn't mean anything, to be honest, but you'd have to give me some context. If you said ELRS, then that would make sense because CRSF is the protocol that it talks across. And ELRS also uses CRSF protocol, but like between the radio and the module. But EL doesn't mean much to me. Neek FPV, yeah, you can use Express LRS on a Tango 2. You add the module bay and you plug it in. Works perfectly fine up to 250 hertz. Let's see. Matthew Roach, yes, you can. Just remember that Vistas are going to ground the frame, which is not a problem. It's just something to remember that you've grounded it. A lot of other hardware does not ground the frame because you're like isolating it with gummies or whatever. Or you're like separating your receiver maybe with a sticky or whatever. So yeah, if you're hard mounting on carbon or you're using metal screws through the carbon into the Vista, just remember that it does ground the frame. So any other mistakes you make, like if you screw your motor screws in too far to your motors, it won't just not start, you'll actually start to fry something, like something will light up on fire. In my case, I have a burned hole on one of my frames from where a Vista screw turned red and started burning the carbon. So just remember that. Welcome, Dave Pencilquin. If you mean can you use grip for isolation, I don't know. I would assume so. But grip is probably not what I would use because it's going to create vibration and stuff. You can just stick the Vista down with like 3M tape or something. Yeah, you'd have to tell me which whoop that is, Thomas, so I could check out the link. But I do not know. Banggood is definitely not the most reliable place. So I don't soft mount a Vista. I have this soft mounting thing is ridiculous, by the way. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to hard mount a flight controller, but it works fine. Works great. My Skyliner is hard mounted. I have Betaflight JBF4 in there, and it's hard mounted. Works perfectly fine. There's no fucking problems with it. Like, I'm not trying to push my filters to no low passes, but I'm also not like I don't care about that. But I don't have any problem with filters at 1.5 on Betaflight 4.2. I think you're going to cause more problems than you'd fix trying to soft mount a Vista. Yeah, VHB tape, 3M tape, whatever you want to call it. Stick that bitch. And then a zip tie for good measure, if you feel the need to. I don't know if that's the case, Audio Geek. I mean, I haven't seen any difference between hard and soft mount in my crashes, but maybe that's the case. Yes, RC Ritter. Soft mounting will be better, but I think it's a little, there's too much, like soft mount everything is crazy town. For sure. Nope, nobody said anything is bad about it. I literally never said anything is bad about it. I just said be aware that it's grounded. And I explained, if you ground the frame, you just gotta listen to the words. If you ground the frame, then you have a better chance of any other mistakes causing a fire or burning something. If you just screw your screws into your motors are gonna stutter if you screw them in too far, right? You're not gonna like burn something. But if you screw your screws in too far and you've grounded the frame, then suddenly everything's fucked and you're gonna start burning stuff. Like one of your screws is gonna light on fire until you unplug the quad. So I'm just smoking some stuff from the place I helped like set up, like I work and I consult for. I think right now I'm smoking Yeti glue. I've got Grease Monkey, Yeti glue, and Ghost Dog. Yeah, I mean, if you want to isolate it, you're welcome to do that. Just remember, like, also your metal screws are gonna also go into the Vista, and also remember that there's screws into the camera, like your OG air unit camera, are also gonna ground the frame. So, just be aware of that. Again, it's not a problem, but you just need to know that it's happening. Let's see. Enema, no, still nothing from a day at the range. He deleted all his accounts and he's gone. We don't know his actual name, or it seems like his actual name was fake, and it doesn't really matter at this point. I don't know what to do about it, so he's gone and will never be back. It doesn't matter anyway because we have our own hack for the goggles. So Alexander FPV, you use a ground probe, and you just probe it. So you put one probe on the ground pad, and then you put one probe on wherever else you're checking for. So you can check like across the frame, or you can check on screws, or you can check wherever. Uh, yeah. Grounded means uh, it has the same potential as ground. You've attached ground to the frame, so now it has the same potential. It's like on the same circuit. It's all connected. Enema, no. My answer to that is no. Let's see. Thomas Petch, I'm not the person to answer that. I have no idea. I think the budget Cinewhoop is the one you can find on sale. Tell you what, the take-in goes on sale constantly with a freaking Vista in it for like 250 or 300. I don't know if you're DJI or analog, but I personally would just look for one on sale. Maybe go that route. I don't really have a starter recommendation for a Cinewhoop. Only Cinewhoop I have is a Slam Squirt, so not really a Cinewhoop connoisseur. Please forget to hit that Henry button. That head is moving farther and farther. Drone pilot. I haven't seen any ASCs with continuity on the on the on the actual screw holes, except for the Teco metal, and that was like labeled in red warning on the manual. And yeah, that's what we've been talking about the whole time. Drone pilot is the Vista, the cable, and the cameras. The screws into the cameras, if you're using a metal camera like the OG, will ground the frame. So. Durzo, I'm sure it's named after the car. I'm sure. That Teco is still the only ESC I've ever seen that does that. IDV, I'm basically, it's just connected to Wi-Fi, and then it's using a library to pull in Adafruit IO, and then Adafruit IO is connected to Super Chat through IFTTT. So it's relying on a couple services, unfortunately. Because I'm not coding manually OAuth stuff. Because the OAuth stuff seems like a mess, and super chats are only through OAuth. You can't use it like YouTube search through API normally. You have to use OAuth. Anima, Gorka has a new goggle coming out. We just don't know when. They've continued to say, like, just keep waiting for fucking 4 months now. So I don't really believe them anymore. So yeah, whenever they come out, it comes out. But otherwise, I don't believe it. I mean, I understand you can fly the drone indoors. Like that's not what I'm trying to say about these drones. Is like they're all flyable indoors. The question is like, is it worth flying? Like, what are you gaining? What's it about? Why are you doing it? So for me, like, I don't see any point to fly Whoop indoors. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it needs to be 65 for me. Like that's why I'm flying because I'm like I want to like gain skills, just like a simulator. And for me, I feel like I need to do that with a Whoop that like can get some speed and I can get some practice in. But if you want to, cruise around your house with whatever size quad, that is perfectly fine. IDV, you only have to pay if you use over 5 services. So you can use 5 if this then that's like 5 things, but it's just delayed. So if you're trying to do time stuff like I am, then I ended up paying so that I could get like instant replies on the super chat. Durzo, yeah, they've been putting out stuff here and there, but they've been pretty quiet. Obviously, they just put out that new FPV control radio on Kickstarter. And I can't say anything, but I do know there's more coming. Not stuff, but like they're doing more stuff. I don't know. I can't go into any specifics. I got an email. That's literally all I can say. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I'm going to say that. It'll be okay. JRFPV. I think Chris Rosser has a pretty good tuning video. I don't know how deep he went into it. I didn't really watch because I'm not a hardcore tuner. But it'd either be him or Mark Spatz. I don't know if either of them have done advanced slider tuning though. So yeah, 1S Nano Baby is like 65 millimeter size, so that makes sense to fly indoors for sure. So it's a little guy. I'll be right back. I'm going to throw the cam on Mr. Henry. And I'll be back in just a second. I got to get a refill. All right. We're back. Nope. Fix that now. Okay. The return. Okay. Yeah, when Chris does his PID series, I think that's coming soon. I'm not sure what he's doing next, but that should be good. I'm sure UAV Tech will put one out now that they've done a feature freeze on Betaflight. I don't know if anybody. I guess that's the news too. If anybody hasn't heard that, there is a feature freeze on Betaflight. So we will. Hopefully, they're talking about a release candidate by Christmas. That's pretty exciting. And then, yeah, I would expect all the tutorials and stuff to start ripping. Durzo, yeah, it just takes some practice. Make sure, I mean, as a new pilot, you should be, or as a new to whoop indoors, you should be in angle mode. If you're not acro, I still can't do acro mode. I can fly acro mode, but I'm really bad. I used to not even be able to do it, but I practiced like for an hour in the sim, and I can kind of do it. It's just not good. That guy Carlos is here. How's it going? Good to see you. You cannot click names on YouTube. I don't know if you've tried that, Enema. But I have this problem all the time because I often want to look at a user's profile and watch their videos, and you can't. It's really annoying. I don't know why YouTube doesn't let you like look at somebody's profile by clicking on them or like clicking their little thing or whatever. But like you use the little thing and it says pin message, report, remove, like, but there's no like, hey, let me check his profile. It's so weird. Anima says, will there be any FPV quads out smaller than a MobLite 6 or maybe even the size of a quarter? Yeah, TBS made a Nano. It just didn't take off. Pardon the pun. I believe it did, but I mean, yeah, TBS made a 55, but I don't know that anybody like. Uh, One day I'll be able to spell. I don't know that anybody like really got into it. I know people that have them. I don't think they were bad. Is it Tiny Whoop Nano? Is that right? It's gonna hit me all those. Tiny Whoop Nano. Yeah. This is a brushed 55 millimeter, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 55 millimeter motor to motor, 18 gram dry. So not like as light, it's still probably about the same weight as a MobLite 6, but this came out a while back, like years ago. This YouTube video is from April 2019. So I would have expected somebody else to do a 55 if there were like people asking for it. I don't know though. I'd be interested to see if more people want it. Feature freeze JR FPV just means that all the features have stopped being added. So like everything else will be pushed to 4.4 or 4.3.1 or whatever, 4.3.2. 4.3.0 has been frozen, and now they're going to work on making sure there's no bugs. Once they feel comfortable with it, then it'll move to release candidate. And then in release candidate, you'll have a couple RCs. Like I think we've had between like 3 and 6 before. I could be wrong about that. And then after they feel comfortable with the release candidates and there's no more major changes to make, or even minor changes, then they'll go ahead and roll out the release and start working on 4.3.1. If you're looking for a Tiny Hawk style quad, I still think 168 is not like the worst thing in the world. But there are other options. I think the kit is probably a really good option, like the 270 or whatever. It's probably a really good option for somebody starting the hobby. Like if you compare that to other kits. However, there are a lot of better things you could buy as well. So I don't know. I think it really depends on what you want to do with it. If you really like the Tiny Hawk idea, if you like the pusher, if you like the Emacs stuff, then it's probably okay. If you don't, then maybe not. Me and Bardwell did a new product roundup, and we both talked about it a little bit on the roundup this month as well. So I think that came out yesterday. Yeah, I don't know that I would recommend a Tiny Whoop Nano now, but I just think it's interesting that we did have a 55, right? So that's kind of neat. Neek, yeah, I think Beta FPV has a board with ceramic built in on the LRS, and Happy Model has one built with ceramic. There might be another one too, but I believe both Happy Model and Beta FPV now have one. For me, if you like the Tiny Hawk stuff, that's great. But yeah, I personally like 65 millimeter, like racing loops. So I would go for like B-Brain Brussels V3, Meteor 65, Mobula 6, that style of stuff. RC Ritter, there's a bunch of good videos about it, but you basically add telemetry on your radio from a receiver that supports telemetry over that protocol, and then when you discover sensors in your radio, you can then use OpenTX or EdgeTX basically there's like logic in there, and then you go into the logic and change it's basically a trigger. So it'll look at that value that's on the voltage there, and it'll trigger if it gets under a certain value. There's also like widgets you can get. There's Lewis scripts you can get and stuff like that too. But there's a bunch of good videos on that. JRFPV ceramic is pretty good. It's just not amazing. I think it's minus 8 dB. Pretty sure that's right. Yeah, that's not super surprising to me. I've ordered something from, I can't remember if it was Happy Model or not. I don't know. It took like 4 months, but hopefully you get it soon. Yeah, Drone Pilot. I don't really use telemetry at all, but yeah, I'm sure if you do, that's a little bit annoying. I mean, I guess most people that are using SPLI ALRS are not like, long ranging and stuff, so at least you're not missing out on all that. Yeah, the VRX backpack stuff is pretty cool for sure. We talked about it on the news a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. Seems a lot more seamless than the like having to connect all the networks and do all the setup in Agent X and stuff for the TBS side of things. Like once you get it set up, it seems a lot cleaner. You could take a look at a Facebook post. Can I get in this group actually? Yes, I can. So this is pretty interesting. I don't know if everybody's seen this. This is pretty new. We'll be talking about this, of course, on the news tomorrow as well. But somebody posted here, is this realistic? It appears to me that new stock of SharkBite VRXs are not going to be available in the future because obviously Fat Shark isn't really pushing it. Even worse, no one else has a SharkBite VRX system out yet, which he really means HD0, right? And I've not heard anyone saying they've got a VRX or goggles in development either. So if you've not got a VRX already, how are you going to use HD0 stuff? And then we have a wonderful answer here from Mr. Divimath himself, Carl. This is not a realistic fear at all. We are designing a new VRX that should be on the market in January 2022. This is HD0, remember. We're designing a hybrid VRX that will automatically receive analog or digital. Should be in the market in January 2022. And we are designing a VRX with LCD display and HDMI output. So this reminds me of like the Bifrost monitor. And Divimath will own those VRXs. So we get 2 new VRXs in January, and then another one coming later that'll be looks like the Bifrost monitor. So that's pretty neat. That is definitely good news since Fat Shark seems to not give a shit about the system anymore. At least they don't talk about it, that's for sure. And they stopped all their development updates. So looking pretty positive. That's for sure. Okay. So this is, I don't know what you're looking at, but to Tom's, this is what I see when I go to Banggood. He said the Firefly, they have ELRS, SPI FreeSky, and TBS Crossfire. I don't see EL Crossfire, so I'm not sure what that means or why you'd see that, but typically CRSF means Crossfire, but it could also mean ELRS F if they're getting weird with the way they name it. So, not sure. Hope that helps. Yeah, Carl's response was definitely awesome. Sabrosa. Yeah, Carl is definitely super engaged, which is very positive. JR FPV, I think the channel follows the goggles, not the quad, but I don't really remember. I want to say maybe it follows the quad, but I'm not sure. Basically what happens when you boot Air Unit or Vista is it goes to public channel 8 automatically. And then it looks for the channel your VTX wants to be on. I'm not sure where that's stored though. Like if that's in like a goggles internal memory, or if that's like in the VTX memory, or like how that works. But basically they temporarily live on channel 8. That's why they call it the public channel. And then either 50 or 25, whichever you're in, that still has that public channel. And then it goes from there, it goes to look that the channel's clear you want to jump to, and then it jumps to that channel. I believe it follows the VTX. I just don't know where it's stored. Let's see. This is pretty cool. This came out recently here. pull this up. Chat. Yeah, 8 is, you should not be an 8. 8 is only supposed to, you're only supposed to go to 8. Like, you shouldn't ever be flying in 8. 8 should just be a temporary place you sit before your goggles automatically go to the right channel or you pick the right channel. 8 is always going to be much worse signal. Even in 25, like, even though it should be a 25 channel, there's something about the way that channel handles that it, like, wants to leave it free for other goggles that want to go to public, I assume. It's very poor. All right, so sorry, let's take a look at this. We have a little zoomed in here. There we go. We've got some data from champs. So let's check this out. How do I zoom? Oh, really? There we go. It's kind of interesting. I could see all pilots and pros. Both are shown here. It's kind of interesting. Kind of like the all pilots category, just because we are all pilots, not pros. It's kind of nice to know what the general people are flying, but a lot of them are going to be pros because they're at the race on purpose. Interesting to see, though. This is the most surprising one to me, is the Foxeer flight controllers being this high. I know that the Foxeer ESCs would be this high, and Hobby Wing as always. But I did not expect the flight controller to be there too. Maybe it's because of the stack. Maybe it's because those are really good flight controllers. But yeah, super interesting. Also, Ghost shown at Champs. That makes a lot of sense to me. Ghost and Tracer as the heads. Very close. I'm surprised that there's this much Tracer there. Definitely interesting. Also, Tattoo, I kind of expected that. They're great batteries. But yeah, interesting to see. Dogcom, MCK's battery, he's been pushing, is almost 10%. 5 to 3's in there pretty well. Most of the racers are flying 4.3. Let's see where is there a big change there? 61% versus 56, yeah. So just most of these racers are flying 4.3. And then some are flying 4.2. Sorry for the 3% that are flying Falco X. Radio Master representing there. So, yeah, some pretty cool data. I'll actually post that in chat in case anybody wants to check that out. And we'll look at that on the news as well. So, Big Water UAVs here. How's it going? Durzo, just not 8 is the channel you want to be on. And then also, it's not a bad idea to be on 50 megabit, but obviously, if you can't for any reason, then it shouldn't matter. Also, I believe the higher channels are better because of Wi-Fi. So channel 3 is going to be your best out of the 50s if you've got Wi-Fi in the area. Edox says champs is invite only, so that makes sense. Could be sponsorships, that's for sure. Yeah, they separate them by the branding, I'm sure, right? Edox? That would make sense to me. Like who's flying batteries labeled 533 and who's flying batteries labeled Dogcom. I don't know if you guys saw, I think we talked about this last stream, but in the HD0 world of things, HGLRC is releasing a bind and fly with the HD0 Race 2 in it. So that's pretty exciting. I'm interested to see if this will like take off, if people will be super excited about this, but it is pretty cool to see. That's what they need. So anything like that is going to be super positive for the system. Just like Ghost, we need to see more of those like Ghost bind and flies. Cool Cat's here. How's it going, Cool Cat? Good to see you. Chris FPV is here. How's it going? Good to see you. Brendan says, "Do I enjoy edibles?" No. I can honestly say I've never had a good experience from an edible. It's never been good. And I've like personally dosed them, and so I know the dose going in, and I still think they suck. I either don't feel it or I basically fall asleep. I've tried every dose under the sun. It just sucks for me. I just cannot be happy about it. Never tried Delta 8, so I can't give you any opinions on it. Haven't had any reason to try Delta 8, so never tried it. And now in Colorado, it's scheduled, so or whatever you want to call it. I mainly keep my batteries in what you call it, bat safes. I bought a couple bat safes, the normal size, and they just stay in there. So I pulled this up before, but we can look at this again. So just so you guys can see, basically Delta 8 is just an oxidized version of Delta 9. So, at least when this was made, that was the understanding of Delta 8 at the time, was by oxidation you get from Delta 9 to Delta 8. So that being said, I do believe uh, it shows up on a drug screen, though I'm not sure. I would guess it does. I don't actually know. I haven't cared about a drug screen in like 12 years, so it's hard for me to consider that. And then also it breaks down into CPN. So one of the reasons you'll feel very similar stuff, depending on the age of the Delta 8 and how it's handled, is this CBN is going to give you the couch lock. This is the same thing that happens when you degrade Delta 9 or CBNA. This is that couch lock feeling that you get, or a big part of it. Like a reclaim or resin, right? Because you smoked the Delta 9, it's oxidized. You're going to see a lot of CBN. I'm going to guess part of the removal of paranoia is CBN. That would be my guess, but I don't know because I've never smoked Delta 8. Yeah. S-Ponder, personally, I don't think it matters. I haven't noticed any big difference, but I don't fly that much. A lot of people say it does matter, and they would rather have an M5 shaft. So I don't know. But I've never had a problem with T-mount. Also, the people complain about T-mount having to have screws and shit. I don't think I care about any of that. So, yeah. It's possible they could break it to hub easier because you have 3 holes instead of 1. So it depends. Like prop design could matter, like who makes them. But yeah, personally, I've not had any issues. I flew a lot of T-mounts through the GemFan T-mount thing where you do the plug-in for the wind dancers on 3-inch, and they were totally fine. I never broke any at the hub. They always broke on the blade. Glass pound, as far as I know, the listed MAH on a high volt battery is based on the high volt. So that's more, it's like you need to charge to 435 to see the high volt milliamp hour when you do discharge. I don't know who would put Loctite on a T-mount, but don't do that. Also with T-mount, you got to remember when you're screwing in, you're screwing a screw into the top of the motor. So make sure that you're careful of the distance of the screw. Because the screw only needs to go into the top of the motor bell. It doesn't need to go down any farther. And you can get down to the coil from the top side by accident. So yeah, at this point, any bind and fly you buy, if you know enough about quads, I personally think you should be inspecting the shit out of them. There are so many stories that don't seem like many of them were flown or they were unintelligently built or whatever. Uh, Glassbound says, I can confirm that Delta 8 will fail a drug test. Cool. Thank you, sir. Most of the people I know just always continue to smoke and would carry what you call it? Oh my god, it's literally been so long. Whatever the fake penises are, like the fake willy. Use one of those. Or if you're slick, you can just use the bag thing and then fake it. But if anybody's going to look at you, Wizinator, thank you. Jesus. No, you degenerates in chat would know it. Don't worry, I'm a degenerate too. Well, yeah, so everybody I know just always passed them with the Wizinators instead of worrying about not smoking. Yeah, I've never done it. Yeah, getting tested all the time sounds like it sucks. So I don't know. I guess it depends on what kind of test you're taking too, right? Who's testing you? If it's your probation officer, that's a little nerve-wracking. It's just like a job or something, and you don't really care about it that much. I mean, use the fake pee. Uh, yeah, anybody who works like federally at all, like unfortunately, still gets tested. Colorado was trying to pass a law, and some other state was too, that said basically you couldn't get tested if you had a medical cannabis prescription. Like the THC on a test didn't matter. Well, I don't think the law went through, at least in Colorado. Yeah, Chris, that'd be nice. A lot of places don't, but a lot of places do. So, also, there's still a lot of stigma. Like that's the unfortunate part. Even in cannabis, like for the first few years I worked in cannabis, we were owned by a guy who didn't smoke, and I would always get like shitted on for it. Basically, like he would always make jokes about it. But my whole thing about it was always like, I'm going to smoke, and I'm going to smoke at work, but I'm going to pretend I don't smoke at work because whatever. But I'm going to go on my break and smoke weed because I want to go on my break and smoke weed, and I'm doing way more work than you're paying me in dollars per hour. And I told him that directly, the owner that directly multiple times. And he ended up turning that into like he would like brag about me and go like, this guy smokes like 3 grams of dabs a week. Look at him. He's like running all this. I'm like, yeah, he always thought it was like somehow like magic or amazing that I was able to do that, and I wasn't just like a stone that couldn't move or something. It's just this weird stigma. Like even somebody who owns it. But if anything, I hope I like showed him that there are exceptions, that most people are probably exceptions. But the problem is you also see a lot of stoner stereotypes. Like when you work in cannabis, you see a lot of people who are like traditional stoners, like exactly the textbook version of what you see. Like they go out and they smoke a bunch of weed on break and they come back and they can't do the job. Okay, audio guy, cool. That's good. Thank you for letting me know that it was only on your end. I was getting worried there for a second. But yeah, there's a bunch of people. I mean, we would have, especially starting out, we had people who like moved to Colorado to do cannabis work, and so they just didn't know what they could handle. We had this guy Tim, who was an older guy, probably like 55, and his wife was like letting him work there, and he was so excited, and it was like he was a kid. You know, he's wearing like the ball caps like the 25-year-olds were, and getting pins and going to shows and stuff. And he would go out and get ripped so hard that he literally would come in and not be able to like weigh cannabis. Like we were weighing 16ths, and he literally would not be able to function weighing 16ths. He'd like keep forgetting where he was at, and he would mess stuff up, and he would not stick the right label on it, and like I don't know, you know, like to me that's always the line, right? Can you do your job or not? If you can do your job, great. If you can't smoke here, and that's how I ran the building too. I eventually transitioned to running that building, and that was my rule for all my employees. You know, the owners say we cannot smoke here. We're not allowed to smoke here, but I'm not going to say shit. However, if you fuck up your job when you come back from break every time, that's on you. And we're going to treat you like you have a problem. You know, like you can't do this job. Like you have to prove to me you can do this job. It's not that fucking hard. So, yeah, I'm one of those people who I need to smoke during the day. It makes me function way better. Especially like I used to do the programming stuff, and I still do sometimes, the PLC controls for the HVAC. That logic stuff on the HVAC, like I have too much other stuff going on. It's like maybe ADHD or whatever, but it's very hard for me to stay focused on the logic and keep all the logic floating in my brain so that I can follow the pathways through and remember, because it's all drawn out terribly. However, as soon as I smoke, boom, focus in, no problem, can get all that stuff figured out. I know exactly where everything's going. I can carry all the logic together. However, I might forget about something else going on, or I might knock a cup over or something. But like to me, that's the trade-off I'm happy to do, because like I know what part of the job I'm doing and how I can do it. If I'm just weighing weed all day, I'm gonna get as baked as I can, because I can do that job with my hands tied behind my back. Um, but yeah, good stuff. It's just certain applications. Like there are certain things I cannot smoke and do. Like if I have to manage like a whole bunch of people actively, and like keep a whole bunch of numbers in track in my head, and make sure I'm doing like 6 jobs at a time, and I've got to call a guy back at 3 and stuff. Like that's a time when I know I don't need to smoke as much weed. Like I can hit the bowl once or twice, but like that's like a day where it's like too much going on, and most of the time I won't have time to stop and smoke anyway, and it's like self-regulating. You know, it's like most days where I have time to go take a break are days that I have time to like smoke and I'm okay. You know, but to me, it was that's what I always told my employees was it's about you and how you can handle the job, and when you make mistakes, and when I catch all your problems, it's the excuse can't be I got high, and if it is, I'm going to know, and you can't do it anymore. You know. And you can continue to do it, but you're not going to have a job. It's like, I'm not going to fire you because you were smoking. I'm going to fire you because you fucked your job up over and over and over again after we've had conversations. You will never get fired for smoking weed at work. Like that was always my rub, you know. But hey, but even with a bunch of weed, I could not manage that many people for that long. I made it like 4 years, 3 years actively managing. I'm trying to remember how long I ran that building. I can't. It's like babysitting. Uh, Lead fingers. Which PLC are you doing? I I was using a like GUI based PLC called Talon. That's what I still use sometimes, um, and that's a Siemens system. It uses Niagara AX. So I don't know if any of those words that mean anything to you. And the hallway, like the boxes are all JASes. They're Java, like Java boxes essentially that you buy from Niagara. It's really annoying. I'll tell you that right now. At least the stuff I do. Because I agree with you. If you could just write it, it'd be a lot easier. Like if I could just say, if this, then this, then this, then this, but instead it's like dragging a bunch of shit and then linking it across from these other books. It's almost like you're having to pull in libraries, or like you're having to make these like cross references out to other places. It's very frustrating sometimes. And like you also can't rely on these Java boxes working all the time. Uh, it's very frustrating. Like having to set fallbacks and stuff is so annoying. Anders Toroff, Toroff? That's it's harder to say than it looks like it would be. Anders Toroff. What about flying FPV and smoking? That's like a perfect example of something I could do with no problem. Singular focus, right? There's ear noise I need to listen to a little bit, and then there's a quad I'm flying with my sticks and I'm looking. And for me, like that's perfect for like smoking a bunch of weed and doing, because like there's not a bunch of tasks I'm juggling. There's not a bunch of things I have to remember, right? It's just keeping conscious of my surroundings as much as I can, which I can do because I smoke all the time, and then flying and looking at the camera. I think it's great. I love smoking and flying. Uh, let's see. The Afro Man song is a banger. I agree with you. That's like the traditional stoner stereotype song. You are not allowed to legally smoke and fly, obviously. But you can do that indoors because nobody can stop you. And also, nobody's going to know regardless. But let's see. C# for the win. Yeah, C# seems like a good language. I would agree with that. Sometimes my dreams come back regardless, even if I don't stop smoking. But yes, it does suppress. Is it REM or pre-REM or whatever you call it? The part where you dream. Cannabis does suppress that in many people. But I do still have dreams because I think because I smoke all the time, I ended up to the point where now I dream all the time. A lot of people talk about never having dreams and then stopping and dreaming like hardcore, and that might happen to me. I've never really noticed that big of a correlation, but I do know like sometimes out of the blue, I'll just have like a crazy hardcore dream that like I'll wake up in a sweat from and stuff. But I haven't been able to relate that to cannabis, though that is very common to hear. Dursa says, "Is there a difference in your flying, sober versus high?" I don't know because I'm never really sober when I fly. It depends on what you consider sober. If you mean like, have you smoked today? Then there's not a situation where I've flown where I was sober. If you say like smoked in the last hour or two, then if I'm just more relaxed when I'm high, that's the only thing I would say. Yeah, more focus and not overthinking. That's a great description of how it feels. Is there's just it helps pull the stuff away. Yeah, Robert Jagravex says, I'm just going to say it like that. Jagravex says, smoking before flying helps calm my brain down enough to concentrate on just flying without the other noise. Yep, that's exactly what I feel like. I feel like I have all this noise and I'm constantly like looking at this, that, and the other thing as I start to get sober. And then if I like, right when I smoke, I like slam back down to like where I can singularly focus. Uh, it makes it so much easier. I've recently laid off of caffeine. I'm now doing all caffeine free stuff. I was drinking a lot of Diet Coke, but I've just switched to like Crystal Light stuff for now. Transitioning slowly off of all the chemicals, except for cannabis. But I was on sugar for most of my life, so I'm slowly backing off of all that stuff as much as I can. But I have noticed that I didn't have all the symptoms of caffeine withdrawal people talk about. Like I was drinking, I drink 4 liters of soda a day most days with caffeine in it, and I completely stopped cold turkey, and I haven't noticed much difference at all. So I think that's kind of interesting. I was expecting to get all these headaches and body sweats and not be able to sleep, and if anything, it's just been right back to like how I would expect it to be, which is great. Sorry, I keep forgetting the Henry cam there. If I forget, you're always welcome to remind me. for his cute little butt. He has a cute butt on screen. Word FPV. I have never turned crosshairs on, but I would imagine it's centered automatically. But also that doesn't make sense because it doesn't know the side of your screen, so you probably have to move it. Because there's no way it would know the format of your screen. Graham P. If I'm trying to fly in a race, then it changes. And basically, if I'm trying to fly in a race, then I want just a little bit of weed to take the edge off. And what'll happen is my adrenaline will kick in. And when the adrenaline kicks in, like that's the part that makes me fly better. Like when I'm racing. That's what I find. So if there's a way I can like juggle, typically I'll just take a couple hits and I'll try to juggle that like edge of anxiety slash adrenaline. And that's to me when I'm at my best. I need to be a little nervous to get the adrenaline pumping, or else I'm just not like pushing that hard. I can't fly as fast. I'm not making as quick of decisions, is what it feels like. I mean, it's not great to rely on that, but it is the case. Henry's a big sleepy boy. Larry's here. How's it going, Larry? Good to see you. Yeah, as eDoc says, the Mobula HD is pretty fat. Not a great experience. Lead fingers, that makes sense. So for Street League, the super slow racing stuff is good. But when you get to open class or whoops and you're like on the edge, it's not as good. Like that makes sense for me. That's basically been my experience. Like if I smoke too much before I'm trying to race, I just don't have it in me. Like I'm just not, I just can't quite get there. I assume that's because I'm like pulling off too much anxiety, or it's like shifting my anxiety to like a different kind, and I'm not getting that like peak of adrenaline. But I don't really know. Everything. If you mean how do I break up weed, Clockwork DG? I do it by fingers. So I just manually finger. I don't grind anything. Unless it's like so hard I have to grind it or something weird. But I typically don't grind anything. I guess if I'm smoking a blunt, I'll grind or break it up really fine. But like if I'm grinding for a blunt, it's not going to be heavy grind, but it might be like a light grind. Just like basically get it through the holes, you know? Jorg, I'm assuming. Jorg Yahoo? Jorg Yahoo? I don't know how to say that because you're from Germany, but welcome. Thank you for being here. Made it right at the end. We got about 5 minutes left. But thank you so much for being here. Later, Frenzy Incarnate. I hope you feel better. JRFPV. It works better. Personally, it works better if you do it just when they show up. Just remember that it depends on how competitive people are. Like if you're racing and you're racing for a reason. Typically, there's going to be a winner. Somebody's going to get competitive, which means that if somebody shows up early, like if you say like, hey, everybody has to get here at 6 p.m. If you get up before, you can't see the course. Stuff like that can definitely be a better way to go. But honestly, most of the way we've done it here has been the course is built that day. If you happen to show up early, you could see the course, but it gets built like around the time of the like right before the race or like the day of the race. There are other, like bigger races. Sometimes they do previews. Like they'll make the course in Velocidrone or something and let people fly it there, but that's a lot of work. Uh, yeah, so I typically would say it's probably best to build it the day of. Northern Tier, thank you so much. Hello to you as well. Jorg says, is there a mobile 100-watt soldering iron working on XT60? I'm not sure. I don't think, not that I know of. TS100 I don't think is anywhere close to 100 watts. Well, I don't know what it'll pull on 6S, to be honest with you. Yeah, gates or just like any kind of natural obstacles you could come up with, are great. Matthew Vega, I missed most of the stream, but I just want to say hi and thanks for the stream. Thank you so much. Yeah, Tom's 25 gram DJI Whoop is not really a possibility currently. It's just too much VTX in cam. I think it's like 14 and a half is the best you're going to get for just the VTX and camera. And then obviously that could be control link as well, but it's just rough. Yeah, there's a bunch of ways you could do it. Everybody could set it up together. That's not a bad idea. Or make like changes or recommendations or anything like that. Also can be good if you're doing it week to week. If you've got guys that do acro, and if you've got guys that do angle, it's not a bad idea to like kind of monitor both of them, right? So like you might build a track one week that's really good for acro, and the next week that's really good for angle. Or you might be concerned that like each week you want to add a split S, but then you also want to add a ladder or something like that. Oh, Durzo FPV, $5 from Durzo. Thank you so much, Durzo. Hats off to you as well, sir. Or madam. Probably sir, but thank you. JRFPV limitations are typically when we race locally or when we've been anywhere to race, it's always 1S, 65 millimeter, 31 millimeter props, and then whatever else you want to do. So just like the main things are, oh, and then I think we set Aledo 2 motors. I mean, it's going to be hard to put something fatter on there. I don't think you're going to do any better by putting a bigger motor on a 65. So, yeah. KD2 RDH Larry says, are tacos better than cinnamon buns? No, but they're a close second. Like I would put them right under cinnamon buns. But like if I could only have tacos or cinnamon buns forever, well, okay. Here's the question: does a donut count? Can I just have a cinnamon donut with icing on it? Because that's cheating, right? Like if I only had to pick one, like to be better, you know? iGallery is not bad. 2S are gonna whoop you if they're good at 2S though. I feel like anyway. Because iGal's 2S, right? or 3S if you've got 3S if you got HD. Yeah, keeping the tracks flowy is always fun. But I feel like the better pilots are going to do better on a flowy track. So sometimes it's nice to have those cuts where, like, all the pilots will have to cut hard, and you don't really have a choice. Like a total 180, right? I mean, a good pilot will be better to 180 than the rest, but sometimes those flows can be fun to mess with. Grand P says tacos followed by cinnamon buns. That's always fair. Cinnamon buns for life. Fair enough, Frenchie. Jelly filled for me all day. Jelly filled are great as well. Good way to take the edge off that icing. Nice jelly. Sometimes the icing gets intense, you know. Taco donut with icing on it. Count me out, sir. Renchi 308 says we're slightly cooked and undercooked in the middle. That's exactly correct. Just barely brown on the outside, maybe not even, so the inside is nice and gooey. Or at least close to that, right? Peanut butter cream filled with peanut butter icing sounds amazing as well. Yeah, like I don't know exactly how that would work out. Like with 2S on our 1S tracks. Um, I've never actually tried to fly it like that, but I would assume you'd have an advantage if you're a really good racer. I have no idea though. Pop tart or toaster strudel? Toaster strudel. I'll tell you the problem with toaster strudels is you got to make them. Like that's a whole ordeal. Pop tart, you just shove them in there and then they pop out, right? So that's nice. Toaster strudel, however, is excellent as well. You just got to ice it. The only problem is the icing part. There's work involved. I don't like work with my breakfast. However, sometimes you got to do it. Like in the case of making cinnamon rolls and then having them come out and then icing them. But Pop Tart is nice because it's already done. All right. Well, we're 2 hours and 3 minutes. I think we're going to call it a day there. I appreciate everybody for hanging out. York, thank you so much for €2. I do appreciate your donation, sir. My little machine moved again. What do you know? Real quick, I just want to remind everybody that I am hosting a new premium FPV troubleshooting service. You just go to itsblunty.com and you'll hop right on over to this page. It's a Google Drive document. And if you're one of those people who feels the need for some extra help, maybe you're really confused or you just really want somebody to take care of shit for you, you can pay me $50 for about an hour. Voice, remote desktop, or guaranteed quick replies on text. Sometimes I can't make it back to you when you text me for help. So instead, I'll be able to give you some guaranteed replies. At least a couple hours of replies you'll get from me for $50. Or direct voice help or direct remote desktop help. I will remote into your computer and I'll help you set up betaflight. Also, if you just want to chat for an hour, that's not a bad idea. However, I would like there to be some issue. So that being said, if you come on down here, you can describe that issue for me so we can make sure I can help you. There are some lists down here of areas I do have good knowledge about, and I don't have quite enough knowledge about to feel good about you paying me for. And then also remember, you can always hit me up here on YouTube. You can hit me up on Discord, Facebook, or email, and I'm happy to help you as much as I can. I just can't guarantee that. And I don't do voice or remote desktop, but this service now allows that. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I will see you on Thursday Tuesday, tomorrow, for the news on Bardwell's channel. And Thursday at 1 p.m. MST, the same time we did today, for the FPV Chat. So take it easy, folks, and have a wonderful day.